Yeah, no.
There's work they can do there. But
Yeah, I was actually looking, because I've been watching like more Digital Foundry videos and stuff lately, and it's really, really interesting to see like the different ways that you can parse out like performance for games. Um,
yeah, their Dragon's
which
Dogma 2 video is pretty damning stuff.
it was
honestly.
good, dude. I was enthralled watching that because I was like, oh my
It
god,
stopped me from buying the game. If I'm
it
being
stopped me from buying the game too.
Thank God it did too, dude. Chandler, me and Merced were talking about it, and we're literally just like basically doing a rundown of what Digital Foundry was saying, and he's like, "I still want to buy it though," and I'm like, "Are you insane?"
I mean, yeah, I still want to as well, but I'm not going to for a while. I mean, there's plenty of other stuff to play and do, but watching the zeitgeist happen without me, like seeing people like run into hilarious shit or like bump into pawns that people created that are amazing, or like the first guy who figured out that the griffin will fly off with you on its back, like shit like that. It's just like, okay, well, I'm missing out on like a Dark Souls level, like let's all figure out how the mechanics of this game work kind of thing, but also especially my specific situation, like I have a really old CPU at this point, so I will be especially hit by the CPU management in that game. Like, it's going to be bad in that city. So,
I mean, I was looking up even on my shit. So like, I got the 14700.
yeah,
and even then, they were still seeing frame dips that are down into the 40s and down. So you get like
God, that's crazy.
40, yeah, which is like, yeah. So I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, I don't like, I just don't want to. I didn't spend this much money to play a game at fucking 40 frames a second. I just didn't. So it's like, it's $70. Fuck.
Yeah.
Me with Unicorn Overlord, I'm like, oof, 60.
You mean like
on Game Pass?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been doing the I love how we're just talking now. We're just talking about the stuff that we would talk about.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
That's how it goes anyway, right? We're just talking, but with the record button turned on.
We have another thing if you want to talk about it.
We're back.
Me and Crossley watched Saltburn.
I saw that you were watching that last night. Before we get into that,
hold on. Okay, well, I'll let you know. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let me just do this really quick, and then we'll.
Yes. Mine's the whole thing.
We're back. Obviously, we haven't talked in a while. We're excited to talk. You're listening to the Infinite Scale podcast. I'm your host, William Chandler, joined as always by Christopher Merced and Chris Crossley. Crossley, what were you excited to get into? Because we could talk. We'll talk about Unicorn Overlord. I played a little bit of that. We'll talk about probably some Final Fantasy. Maybe Helldivers too.
Well, yeah, I could see that.
Okay. What's going on?
I want just your impressions and nothing specific because Merced hasn't seen it. I just want how did you feel about Dune 2?
Oh, yeah. I think Dune 2 is better than Dune 1.
Yes.
I also think it is a much more ambitious movie than Dune 1, which is very funny to say out loud because Dune 1 felt at the time pretty ambitious.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that if every big budget movie you could leave and not wonder where they spent the money, we would be as a society in a better place. Like
and wasn't this movie like relatively low for a high budget movie? Like it was on the lower spectrum of like big budget movies. Like or am I wrong about that?
Honestly, that is a great question. I mean, I didn't look at it, so it's $190 million approximately. as the budget. What was the last like really big Marvel movie? Just for a comparison point.
Big Marvel movie.
What was the last Spider-Man called? No Way Home?
Yeah, so that would be a good one. It was No Way Home.
That movie was ugly
They
too.
definitely spent a lot of money on it. I think it looked fine.
No Way Home.
I would argue that's one of the recent Marvel movies that actually has decent looking VFX, whereas they've kind of cucked VFX in other recent Marvel stuff.
Okay, so apparently No Way Home did not have an especially large budget. Obviously
Really?
This is not an official. This is estimated by a few sources. I'm seeing this number consistently, so it must be a close estimation. $200 million. I mean, wow. I didn't watch No Way Home. I will say Marvel movies are not known for having the best production design in the business. Yeah. They do what they can with the time and the resources they have.
Right. Yeah.
Dune 2 was a flawless example of how to use effects and CG and practical and money for casting. I mean, every dollar felt like it went to good use in that movie.
Yes,
and that's what I want to feel when I leave a movie like that. So great film. Can't wait for Denis Villeneuve to get the blank check. He's clearly cashing in a lot of favors in Hollywood just so he can get a blank check for some passion project. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I was under the impression Dune was the passion project. It seems like it is like a very special thing to him that he wanted to see realized in a very unique way.
Yeah, he clearly likes it a lot. I think Dune 1 was certainly him being excited to make it, but I can imagine after he makes the next one, which I think is supposed to be the last one for him,
I would hope so.
He'll be ready to do something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll be ready for him to make something else too. I mean, I love that he's the one making Dune, but it's also like tragic. Similar with Christopher Nolan when he was doing Batman, it's also tragic to see a director stuck on like a franchise that they didn't come up with, or something like that.
100%. Yeah, I mean it's on the one hand, it's exciting when a director that is a genuinely good director tackles a property that they can bring real value to, like make good art out of it, but also. It feels like a somewhat of a waste to have someone as talented as Denis, doing this. But it was amazing. I mean, I definitely recommend seeing it in the theater. Yeah.
Merced recently watched Sicario because I hadn't watched it.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
That was pretty fire.
Still just as good. Still holds up.
Yeah, that's a Denis classic right there. I mean, that was probably the movie that got him recognized for sure. Was just how just perfectly paced and directed that movie is. I mean, it is just no time wasted. Like, everything takes the exact correct amount of screen time and dialogue time. Everything's very efficient, and more than that, the way that movie builds tension, you feel like you have heartburn watching that thing. Like you're just like, what in the fuck is going on? And same with the movie that he did that's my favorite is Prisoners, and that movie also will grab you by your heart and squeeze it really hard.
Yeah, I don't even know how many times I've seen that movie. I agree. Prisoners is definitely his best, in my opinion.
So what have we been playing? Because it's been a while. I feel like I'm going to be a little bit. Every once in a while we take like a few weeks off and then we come back and we talk. And I'm surprised by things that you guys are playing. That could possibly happen here, but I feel like I really kind of know the answer to this. But I want to hear what Crossley's been up to because, there's a big game out that I know that you probably are enjoying.
Oh yes, definitely.
But you want us to go there first, or you want to save that for later?
Let's let's just try to go in order of recent history, I guess.
Okay.
I think I had my era without internet.
Yeah.
And during this era, I was able to go download one thing before I ran out of hotspot data. That was Persona 3 Reload. Great thing. Had a great time with that. Got really lost in it.
Did you finish that?
No, I would have if I didn't get internet back. But as soon as I got internet back, it was all Helldivers.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
not
exactly a glowing review of Persona 3 Reload, to be honest. If you were trapped in a dark
it really
cave,
was a good time. I was just so eager to do something else, and I honestly fully plan on finishing it. It's just
they should put it on the box. If I was trapped on a desert island with no way to contact anyone, Persona 3 Reload would be my game of the year.
Well, yeah. So I also went to the local Best Buy while I didn't have internet and bought a physical copy of Sonic Frontiers that was on sale. Oh, and also this interaction. Okay, so I went to the Best Buy. Yes. Well, I really like.
What year is it?
Yeah, and I was curious, and it was on sale. But
so imagine playing the unpatched version of any game. Like, holy shit!
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I did get to patch it.
Okay.
Dude, there was no way I would have done that. Yeah. I did. I played Persona 3 on the Xbox while I was patching on the PlayStation very slowly through a hotspot. But anyway. So I go to this Best Buy before I get the Sonic Frontiers. I went a few times because I had nothing better to do. Didn't have fucking internet. And Sonic Frontiers is not on sale, but they don't have it like listed with the price. So I ask how much it costs, and the dude's like, "Yeah, it's $60." And I'm like, "Oh, dang, really? That's crazy." Because it's been out a while now, right? Mm-hmm. And then the guy goes, Yeah, most new games like aren't going to be on sale that quick, Yeah, it's probably going to be $60 for a while, bro. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I could have swore that game came out a very long time ago. And yeah, I look it up and it did, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then I go back the next day and it was literally on sale.
That's hilarious.
Very cheap. And I'm like, why did that guy even say anything? If he actually doesn't know shit about video games, like why would he even say anything to me? Like, fucking.
Well,
anyway,
didn't a new Sonic game come out recently as well?
That I think is true. One came out last year, but it's not Frontiers. It was something
about that.
Like, maybe.
Sonic.
There's the Sonic Murder, the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
That was a free game, wasn't it?
What?
That was like a
wait.
I totally forgot.
The murder of Sonic the Hedgehog is a video game.
The murder of Sonic the Hedgehog was like a virtual novel.
It's a
or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a whodunit VN, but it's supposed to be really fucking good.
I forgot about that.
He obviously was not talking about that.
No.
No. I just can't believe I haven't heard of that. I love Sonic and I haven't heard of that. That's crazy.
I think is it free? Yeah, it's free. You can play for free. And then other than that, it was Sonic Superstars is probably what you're thinking of.
Superstars, yeah. Which I would also be willing to bet is already on sale somewhere or everywhere.
Yeah.
So fuck that guy.
Yeah, Sonic
but
Superstars,
anyway,
October 17th. So, that was the one that Sega blamed Mario for doing poorly. That's what it was.
Blamed Mario because the Mario game came out at the same time?
I don't even know. Did it? I guess it did October. That sounds right.
I mean, like it's at the very end of the year, right? Isn't that yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
So I played that. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by that
Sonic
too.
Frontier.
It's definitely, nothing crazy, but I had like basically the lowest expectation possible. And it, was a little bit higher than that. I was like, oh, okay, this is actually like kind of enjoyable. But I could see that it was going to be the exact same thing for like, I don't know, probably too many hours. So yeah, went back to Persona, got internet, got Helldivers. And you're right, I've been playing the fuck out of Final Fantasy as well. And that's about it, though. Magic, Helldivers, Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Played a lot of Persona.
I have been playing a lot of Persona as well. Really like that game. I put like 2 hours in a day. That's how I always play those games, is I play them over the course of an entire year. spread out by I like punch in like it's a job. Like,
Yeah,
all right,
you know what the
time to go to
irony
high
is?
school. Yeah.
The funny thing about this remake is now that I do have all my stuff available to me again, I wish I could play it on the go.
Yeah.
Which is just a little ironic,
Honestly,
I think. But
I mean, I have Persona 4 Golden installed on my Switch just in case I get a hankering. But like, yeah, they are perfect mobile games, to be honest. Like they really do satisfy a very, because it's like in depth enough to keep your attention, but not so engrossing. Like I tried playing some shooter on my Switch recently, and I was like, this is just it just doesn't feel right. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, we've had that conversation before, but yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah, it requires too much constant attention. Anyway, well, good. I'm glad. I mean, I think I really want to hear about your experience with Final Fantasy, to be honest.
Yeah. I would love to try and talk about it without, being too
Merced,
specific,
have you played
because I
this
know
at all?
Merced's really
No,
eager to play it.
No, I haven't played it yet.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna be like more patient with that one because I still want to play Crisis Core as well, which I haven't gotten around to.
Man, that is a fool's errand, honestly. But Godspeed.
You don't like Crisis Core?
I mean, I played it on the PSP a little bit when it was new, and I remember thinking that game was not that fun. But I mean, that's just me. I'm a mainline only Final Fantasy gamer. That is for sure. I'm not a Dirge of Cerberus guy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel you.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I don't feel you, but I get what you're saying.
You do feel me. You barely even play RPGs.
Yeah, actually, RPGs are probably pretty low on my list in terms of things that I enjoy. But this shit got me, dude. That shit got me.
Okay, all right, okay. I mean, the story is beautiful, and I mean, Zack is one of the most annoying characters of all time. So by that metric, Final Fantasy Crisis Core should be one of the best games in the series. Think about it, dude. Every Final Fantasy that has a more annoying protagonist is one of the best games.
Which one's your most annoying? Because I already know mine.
It's Tidus. It is Tidus.
Oh yeah, it's the same. It's the same for me. I actually think it's the worst protagonist.
And it's also the best Final Fantasy game. I mean,
it's a very good Final Fantasy.
Okay, all right.
But we have the Auron Straight Man.
We do, yeah. I mean, you always
bring it home.
It only applies to the main character. Everyone else can be as cool or as not cool as they want, but the inverse, like how much you like a main character, like for instance, we talked about this, Clive in 16, good character. That's why that game is only middle of the road. Okay, all right.
No, I disagree. Clive is a pretty okay character, carried by his relationships with everyone else.
That is true. Yeah,
Did you finish that?
No, I haven't even touched it since we talked last. Yeah,
I have a feeling that it's like maybe 50% of the player base didn't finish that game from the way everyone talks about it.
Yeah, it is. It does do a really good job of sapping your momentum, and honestly, last year was such a good year for games coming out that like it just and good games continue to come out. Like we haven't hit the drought yet. Usually we hit the drought and then I go back and play shit that I'm like, I should have finished that, but like we haven't hit it. So I mean, it's crazy. All right, Crossley, let's talk about Rebirth, because I've heard a lot of things, but I resident Final Fantasy expert Chris Crossley to tell us here who looks better in the beach scene.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Why is it Cloud?
The most fucking Servisu thing I've ever experienced in a video game. This whole game is like Servisu. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna like ship everything, like all the characters, all the possible relationships. It's gonna be so horny. Yeah, it's pretty funny actually. But it's really good. I'm really pleasantly surprised. My biggest concern with anything like this, or God of War Ragnarok, or Spider-Man 2, or any big follow-up in this modern era, is that it's just going to be more of the same. And it's genuinely pretty different while keeping everything about remake that mattered and was good, and then iterating on it and adding a bunch of new stuff, whether it just be that Cloud's basic combos that you're doing are different. It's not the same animations. It's a new set of things you're seeing him do.
Yeah.
Whether it's that or just, changes with how you interact with the other characters in combat, like just little tweaks, and just took it so far because it's all been tweaked in a good way.
There's something I specifically heard that I was curious about, that it has like social link stuff now.
Yes. It's literally as soon as you start.
Okay.
I think there's like the demo portion of the game that's at the actual beginning, so it might be after that it does this, but whenever you start the game proper, if not literally as soon as you start, it tells you there is a social link between all the main characters that is relevant to like main events. Like the things that your social link will determine like main events. Basically, it literally tells you that up front. It's like, hey man, this is going to be a big deal. This isn't like just going to be a kiss scene or like a I like you a lot, Cloud, haha. Like it lets you know this is going to be fucking relevant. And get ready, son. It's like preparing you. And I can't wait to like get through it and really deep dive what all is actually affected by it, because I've already found out like things I've already done that could have been different if I had a higher friendship with someone else. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Holy shit.
It was that like, I don't know if like granular is the right word, but I hope that gets what I mean across. Like things along the way that I wouldn't have thought were affected by that and could have been different have been.
Depending on how much you like Aerith will determine if she goes and prays in the pool. And if she doesn't, then she lives. And if she does.
Oh, yeah. And that's a whole thing too. Like not necessarily that, but what is going to happen. Yeah. Me and Gabe have talked about it a lot. And I think we both think if there's any like big story thing that has like a main character involved and that's an interchangeable slot, whatever that is will have to be a new thing that we won't be able to see coming. And we both agree that like, let's say if they're going to have Aerith's death still be a thing, that's not going to be like an interchangeable thing, and either whether or not that's still going to happen, who knows? I think we'll just have to see. But assuming that's like still a thing happening, I don't think they're gonna make it where any character can die there. I just don't. We'll see. But anyway, it's really good though. The game feels good, looks good.
Yeah.
Performances are fucking insane. It's not super open. Like open world. It is kind of just big areas that all end up with like a choke point that is either leading to a boss /story /set piece moment or the next big town, which is just like another big area basically, that leads to another big open area. And it's pretty good. It's like perfectly you know how like Remake kind of feels on rails and it's like how it is kind of linear. Like you can go off and like, okay, instead of following the main path, I'll go do this side quest or I'll go down this fucking, I don't know, trail and probably get like a chest or something. But it's relatively on rails. Like you can see the path that is leading to like the next main story and you know where you need to go basically the whole time. It's sort of the same here, except you can just go off the rails anytime. It's not like there's only like a quest here and a quest there, or like a pathway here and a hallway here. It's like, no, there's a big like fucking fishbowl of things to do and you always see where you need to go still. You see the rails, then you can hop on rails and stay on the fucking main path anytime you want, and you can hop off of those and go do a plethora of things anytime you want as well.
Okay. But the fish bowls are pretty big. I mean, this is like Dragon Age Inquisition size kind of maps, right? Where it'll be like, just here's a map with some icons on it and you can kind of wander around. Or no?
It's I think it's, at least so far, I don't know really how much more game I have left. I did just get like the flying ship, like I just met Sid.
Cool.
So, and I just like flew to a new place for the first time. That was very like scripted though, so I don't know how much like real freedom I have with that. They did kind of give me a tutorial being like, hey man, Sid will take you anywhere you want to go. And I'm like, okay. And I could kind of control the plane a little bit. And I was like, dude, this is fucking trippy. I'm literally like flying over the map right now.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's, we'll see, like, but it pretty big fish bowls. I don't know. To me, not really. In comparison to like really, really open like world games, and it feels just like big open areas. I wish I could think of like a good comparison.
Yeah, I mean,
this
is
one-to-one.
kind of weird, but it reminded me of The Witcher 2. Hearing you describe it, because that's a very linear game that has like random open areas that you can kind of meander around in that aren't super open. They're just, you know, open-ish. But you always kind of know where you need to end up. And I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you know, like Final Fantasy 16 is kind of like that. I mean, it's maybe a bit more open.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like that, except done better, basically. In terms of the open areas are really well designed and very interesting. Even if you're just passing through and staying on the rails, you're still like, holy fuck. Whereas every single big open area in 16 is like the same grassland with a path that all looks the same, and you just see the enemies, and it's like, okay,
realism.
At least in Final Fantasy 7, this feels like the fucking, I don't know what their planet is called, if it's just called Earth or whatever, but it feels like that world that Final Fantasy 7 is. Like when you're going from the area right outside Midgard to fucking Junon, it makes sense. Like it feels like that world, and you see you're getting closer to that fucking giant ass city and getting further away from that other one, and it all is so well designed. It's crazy. And all the optional stuff, I mean, they have something for everyone. Like for instance, for me, they had a whole team work on a card game for over a year.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's not like super in depth or anything, but it's the perfect like side thing to like for me that have a lot of fun in. Yeah, it's a good game. I love it.
Everybody thank The Witcher 3 for introducing card games as a side activity.
They were not the first one to do it, dude.
I mean, they were not. I mean, KOTOR was very early, but I mean, the quality bar was definitely raised by recent years. I mean, I would say The Witcher 3's card game, it was so good they even spun it off into its own fucking game. So I mean, but that's interesting. I mean, how's the combat this time around? Did they change?
It's really good.
Okay.
They did. It's really, really good. So I would say one of my biggest, like, I don't even know if it's an issue. It's just like a part of it, and you have to just manage around it. But in the first one, MP, your mana, and managing that in combat is just like a huge thing. Like if you, let's say, you know their elemental weakness, I mean, you still only have so much mana to play with, like to be able to utilize that in combat to get your staggers or whatever. And then, I mean, you have to be able to cure and all that. And the mana goes quick, you know, and ethers are kind of hard to come by. And so anyway, one of the coolest things they did in this one is pretty much all the characters get abilities that don't use mana that have an element applied to them. And that is like the coolest fucking thing. It's so clutch for being able to like get off your like elemental weaknesses in like super clutch moments when you either don't have mana or just want to hold on to it for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Um,
From what I remember, the first game was all about building up that stagger bar, right? So in this case, it's just easier to kind of compound that stagger damage without having to spend mana. Is that the gist?
yeah, it just gives you I guess a different avenue
Okay.
to be more, it's like, okay, now I can do things with my mana. I'm not always just sitting here like saving it for when I need it. Now I can use my mana and I'll have that thing if I need like an elemental proc for any reason. And there's other like abilities too that aren't just elemental related. But anyway, and then they did these new synergy abilities, which are really cool. And just the combat in general has been like, I don't know, has like just small little changes to it. I don't really know how to explain, but just small little things that feel a lot better, and everyone's abilities are really cool. And they, brought up all the classic abilities from Remake that were really good over. I don't know. I think you'll see what I mean when you eventually play it, but it's just like a better version of what Remake did, really.
Who are you romancing?
Absolutely Tifa, 100%.
Good taste.
It's insane.
He knows the right answer.
I feel like in the first one, Remake, they kind of pretty equally ship like Aerith and Tifa, and honestly Jesse too, and probably someone else I'm forgetting honestly as well. They all feel like equally represented as like a love option for Cloud. And in this one, and I'm sorry if this is at all spoilery, it feels like they are forcing Tifa down my throat, and I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, dude, the fucking Aerith boys are going to be upset. Like, she is
okay.
I mean, in Rebirth, it also feels that way.
They're setting up a Tifa
mean?
death.
In
Is what I'm
Remake, it felt
hearing.
that way too.
In Remake Integrate, it definitely feels like
it's forced Tifa.
And I mean like forced. And when I say that, I'm saying like Aerith feels like a lot more natural in the way that you're interacting with her and the things that you go throughout the game. You're just kind of like, okay, like this is a very, very natural progression into more of like a romantic relationship. Whereas like with Tifa, it's like it almost feels as though there's really nothing that would propagate a romantic relationship, but the game is like, right, yeah, you want this? It's like I don't really like. There's nothing here that you're providing me to like work with in terms of like.
That's kind of true for original Final Fantasy VII too. Like
which is fine, but I mean, like they have so much more devices now to like sort of like pull that out of me. Where I'm like I could definitely see a romantic relationship between these two. But like I don't know if it was just my interpretation of what I was seeing, but I really only felt like between Cloud and Tifa there was like this natural platonic relationship, especially with the way they set up like their childhood friendship and blah blah and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you are, right? A lot of people are like, oh, like because they're friends, it makes a lot of sense that they would eventually, but also if you're inclined differently, like in your just, subconsciously, right, you'd be like, okay, well, naturally then they're friends, right? They're not going to be anything else.
Right.
So but I get what you mean. It's not a very, I feel like dating all the way back to original 7, there was an intense debate about this exact topic. I mean, to be honest, but canonically, of course, Aerith was the interest, and you don't think so?
Was she though?
I mean,
Ross is going to use the golden saucer scene as like some weird fucking like ace.
The golden saucer scene. No, I just mean in general. I've always felt like Aerith's like been interested in someone else the whole time. That's always been my take, period. And that they leave it unclear for that internal like I like Aerith, and so they don't make it explicitly clear that she does. I mean, I think they did in Remake. Actually, I think she did say she loved someone. But
I mean, I guess. Well, and of course she's referring to Zach. But I mean, I think like the it feels like that the original 7, the way that those things play out, that the Cloud as the main character the reason that death works is because that looks like the Cloud, the version of the future that Cloud wants is like that relationship or something like that, right? Like that to me, like as a character, it does feel like, because you have pretty limited agency in that game. I mean, you have a little bit, but generally it feels like, things play out as scripted. And in that game, it feels like Cloud is down the path of Eris at that point, right? But now, I mean, Remake, and it's been a while since I've played it, it does feel like you have a lot more ability to kind of play with how Cloud actually thinks and feels, and
they definitely propose it in a way where it's like both of these are a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean they're both cool. I mean, they're both good characters. All the characters in Remake were good. I didn't play Intergrade, so but I
think you should.
I need to play all of. I didn't finish Remake. I mean, I need to.
I think you should.
I know. I mean, that's the point of this conversation, is that reading and just hearing people talk about Rebirth, I'm like, oh my god, now I got to play through another fucking 80-hour game to get to this 80-hour game and play it.
And really, genuinely, Rebirth starts with content that is basically a huge spoiler at the end of Remake. Like I don't really even know how to say it, but it starts with huge spoilers. Like there's no way to play Rebirth, at least without catching yourself up somehow on the things that happen if you don't feel like finishing it, which is totally fair. But yeah, it's I think it's
Remake's really not that bad.
Yeah.
Either. Remake's like, I did almost all the side content and it took me maybe 35, 40 hours. So it's not horrendous. So
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I mean, the problem, I think I can figure this out later. This is like logistical bullshit, but can I bring my save over from PS4 to PS5 or no? Is that a okay? Because I'll continue, because I don't feel like I want to go through the beginning and then the fucking sewers and the giant robot hand and the fucking what is it? The oh shit, what's the part where like you're in the town and then the flowers at the church and then you got to do that thing and then there's all those side quests about the preschool or whatever.
You did all that stuff already?
All of it. I mean, I did everything.
I definitely wouldn't want to do all that stuff again either.
Same.
Especially since I honestly didn't even feel like the game started like showing itself until after the whole fucking robot fucking thing. I know what you're talking about. The boss whenever you're trying to blow up the facility. I didn't feel like the game actually became interesting until like that moment, and then that's when I was like fully hooked.
And I mean that's like that's essentially the prologue in the original game.
Right.
It's like 45 minutes to an hour long, and in this game it was like 5 hours. But I mean, if I can continue, because I'm at Wall City or Wall, what's it called? That was where I left off.
Where are you talking about? The district?
Wall District. Sorry. District? Is that Wall District? No, what's the place with the like the silly dance routine and all that shit?
Oh, you're where you become a woman.
Yes. Where you have to cross dress. Yeah,
the like Beehive Inn or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I left off. Basically, was right.
That whole section of the game is really fun.
So
I love that part of the game.
I feel like that's like a little bit less than halfway, is my understanding, right? I mean,
I would say like halfway, if not more.
I would say half or more. Yeah.
Okay. See, if I could continue from there, I'll do it. But if I can't,
you absolutely can. Yeah.
The chance of me playing that game again are very low. Anyway. I'll investigate after this and report back.
I would do it just to set yourself up for
I know.
And it really is good too. I mean, I think the later half of Remake is what's worth it about the game. It is like where it fucking shines.
Yeah. I really left off at the worst because I got through all the bad stuff.
Yeah, literally, you're just like, all right, let me get through all this shit and then stop.
Yeah. I ate the slop and then didn't finish the steak at the bottom. Yeah. So, okay, good. I'm glad you're having a good time with Rebirth.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to talk about before we hear about Merced's life?
No, I can't think of anything.
There's not really much on my end either, to be completely honest. Because I also played a fuck ton of Persona 3.
Did you?
So,
I didn't know that.
I did not beat it, but I did play a fuck ton of it. See, the way that I choose to play Persona games, I guess you guys like to play them like gradually over a long amount of time. I like to play them a lot until I burn myself out like a fucking
that's
star.
what I do too. That's what I've done every single one. Yeah.
And then I never finish them.
Yeah,
that's my MO for Persona games. So I've done my thing. I've played about 60, 70 hours.
Yeah.
It's a great game. I'll never finish it.
Yeah.
But great job, Atlas.
That game is probably only 60, 70 hours long, if I'm being honest. I mean, there's absolutely no way. Because, I mean...
There's more than that.
I think Persona 3, I mean, they got gradually longer, is my memory. I mean, I've played original Persona 3 Portable, not to... Yeah, I mean, that game...
Does Xbox track your hours? I actually don't even know.
I don't either. The save file will. But...
Yeah, the save file. So, like, for instance, I feel like I'm approaching a little less than halfway, and I'm about 20 hours in. I would say that game's probably 70 hours long.
Yeah, I was about to say, I can guarantee mine's at like 50 hours at least. So
okay. What was the last thing? Like, what date, I guess, on the calendar? Or what did you guys...
I'd have to boot it up.
Dungeon, or like how far into Tartarus did you get? I mean, these are all...
I would have to install it and boot it up again.
I have the dog in my party, which was a fucking hilarious thing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is actually a pretty decent... I mean, you're 3/4.
I'm far.
Least. Yeah.
I'm far. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely like almost done.
You're getting there. I don't even know if they changed anything or not, but
you see they're adding the other content.
Yeah, the stuff that was Japan only.
I thought that was funny.
I will not play that game again after this.
No. No, they're not going to get me this time.
It's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
it is.
I think they're great games. And this is one of the most beautiful so far. I mean, visually, from the menus to the character designs and graphics and stuff.
In terms of like an upgrade, when you look at them side by side, it is jarring. Like, it is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Even compared to Persona 5. I mean, Persona 5 is a great looking game, but something about the clean designs of this game that appeal to me a lot more than that game.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. How did you guys feel about the voice acting?
I play it in Japanese, so.
Okay.
I actually did play in English per recommendation of somebody, and then I was just like, yeah, if I don't like it, I'll just switch it back. And I ended up leaving it on. It was fine. Some characters, like the dude who like oversees the whole thing y'all were doing. He's like, I don't know if he's a professor or what, but the guy with the glasses, right?
He makes the puns.
Yeah, he was like, pretty standout bad, but everybody else main cast wise was pretty fucking good and enjoyable.
The funny thing,
more or less was fine.
I don't even remember if original Persona 3 Portable had an English dub. It must have, but I remember back then the standard for Japanese games was always just play them in Japanese, so I did, but. Yeah, maybe even back then they didn't give you the option. Like, it was just you always have to play it in English. But I listened to.
I think you had the option.
I heard the beginning in English and I was like, nope. Like, it was just too. I was like, this sucks. So I switched it. I mean, historically, like Persona 4 and 5 both have really good English dubs. Like, that was like Troy Baker's breakout performance was in Persona 4. Like, he was not famous, and that was what he became known as, was Kenji in that game. But I mean, this one seemed worse, and I couldn't tell if they re-recorded it or if it was just the original, but like the full, like, the high quality files.
Because they changed.
It's new.
They changed a lot of the dialogue as well. If you went on,
Okay.
if you went on afterwards, it was
And
there was a lot of people that were. Huh?
I'm pretty sure certain more lines have recorded dialogue in this version as well as like maybe in the original or previous versions there would just be text, no recorded dialogue.
Right.
I think this version has much more scenes that are actually voice acted.
Yeah.
They changed, like they rewrote a lot of the dialogue as well.
Yeah.
So like they had to actually do new VOs for it because a lot of the dialogue is different. Like if you went online and you started looking at like different love interests and stuff, there were people that were basically saying something to the tune of like, is it just me or is Yukari not a bitch anymore? And then everyone's like, yeah, it's because they changed her lines. So she's not like,
Yeah, I mean, I knew that they had added a lot more voice acting because back, in Persona 4, even there's really not that much voice acting except for like
they do that thing where they say like the first word and then
So, but I've never had a problem with that. But there was I found the English dub off the bat in this really off-putting. But maybe I'll give it another shot. I mean, I also
I mean, to be fair, it's not like it's ever going to be 100% like, wow, this is fucking perfect the whole way through. Like, there's always going to be a line that's like, oof. But for the most part, it's pretty serviceable and enjoyable, aside from certain moments and certain characters that really didn't give it their all. But yeah, I think for the most part, the main cast, I think, did a pretty good job, especially at the more like, I guess like tense or actually like captivating or emotional moments. I think I was pretty pleasantly surprised. Like they, really were acting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else, Merced? What else you been playing?
Helldivers, brother.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh.
Go ahead. That's a good ass fucking game. Are you kidding me? That was like everything I wanted and more.
You guys want to just play Helldivers right now? Actually,
we could.
Yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing there's so little to be said about Helldivers as a game, but
yeah,
I think the thing that everyone is saying and everyone agrees on is that they have created the secret sauce of just wanting to keep playing a video game because the base mechanics are so inherently satisfying and they keep throwing in enough new shit every few weeks that they will keep me coming back. I mean, go ahead, Crossley. You don't have to raise your hand.
And what's interesting about that too, is that like how I felt about it, let's say before they really did like any content drop, like where they added a new mission type or the robots, like because that was I think added shortly after release, right? It wasn't like actually there day one, the robots.
Day one.
I think it was in day one. People just focused on the bugs. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought they like unlocked.
No, they were just a bitch and a half because they were bitch and a half because nobody had the autocannon or anything like that.
Okay. So like let's say I don't know, or at least how I felt when I was playing it right after release is I have so much stuff to unlock. Like I'm going to be satisfied trying to get like to these higher levels to get this cool fucking shit. And then they just keep adding stuff on top of that to like keep me invested and interested in wanting to play. It's a really well-paced like live service kind of content drip so far, like both just at release, like the value there is pretty good, and then everything post release has been like really consistent. It'll be interesting to see like through this year and I guess maybe next year too, how they continue to evolve the game and what they have planned. I'm assuming they have a plan. It seems like they are ready to try and keep people invested in the game the best they can.
Yeah. We're definitely only, like scratching the surface of what they realistically could do, right? With kind of the systems that they have in place with the, kind of having a game master and all that stuff, like having a someone who can kind of flip the levers and change the course of the war. I will say, the real thing that's going to be the major, I guess, turning point for deciding if this game stays around or dies is how willing are they to force people out of the meta? Because this game dies the minute that there becomes a concrete meta that is the way to clear the higher difficulty stuff.
They definitely don't seem to be afraid of that at all. In terms of pushing people out of their comfort zones, because they had the like the very first meta that even started to formulate, they pretty much nixed that within the first like week of it coming up. Literally. So
as long as they keep doing that, I think it'll be great. I mean,
what I love is the balance of like legitimately you naturally just look at both, like if I go into a Terminate thing or if I go into an automaton thing, these are generally the weapons that I'm going to be bringing just because they service like these two different enemy types so well. And then also at the exact same time you'll find yourself naturally asking what mission type is it, just so I know like I should probably bring this instead or this instead. Just like I would say there is maybe 1/6 of the overall arsenal that's like available to you, you don't end up using. And I would say that's almost just down to personal preference, not even because it's not
I think that's as designed. Everyone's going to have the things they prefer for sure. And I think that's cool.
There's a good mix of stuff too for different play styles. And I think as well, like kind of just baked in through the desire to unlock certain things and get more of the currency as quickly as possible and stuff like that, and the little daily things that are like, hey, use this stratagem and use this weapon and get this many kills with it, to sort of incentivize you to go outside of your comfort zone already, because most of the time those are things I don't see anybody using. I don't know if that's by design or just by coincidence, but it seems like they just have it kind of baked in to sort of make you want to try other things as well. And then, like the game director also, how they have that going on, and they're pretty consistently patching and adjusting things, buffing and nerfing as they feel necessary. It seems like they're doing a pretty good job at sort of keeping things in an interesting balance, more or less. Pretty fucking cool. It's just crazy, I guess, and I think we all sort of see this, but it's just crazy because, like, prior to this game coming out, I'm expecting it to be like my new Remnant 2, like a sequel to a game I pretty much really enjoyed, and this will be a better version of that more of my friends will enjoy with me, and we'll just go play every now and then. But it's so much more than that. It's like, it's so fucking good for no reason, and they just put so much heart and soul into it, and it shows.
I don't know what.
Like, this isn't just another fucking sequel. Like, this is just actually fucking phenomenal.
I could play 2 to 3 rounds of it every day for the next year and be satisfied. I mean, it will keep me coming back.
Yeah,
the show is just really fucking fun. It's so fun in that game.
It's really fun. It's really funny. And so here's the next thing: is how long until you think they drip out the third faction?
Because the third faction didn't come out for like a long ass time in the first one. I think it was like literally over a year.
No,
I think it'll be sooner than that.
Yeah, I would.
If I just had to guess,
was it really in the first game? I mean, I remember us playing a decent amount of that game, to be honest, but it was so long ago now. Like, I mean, 10 years.
I guess it would be hard to find, right?
But I mean, but like, yeah, I feel like, they want to. It's a delicate balance, and I imagine they're feeling the pressure right now, because if they release it too soon. I mean, too soon would be the lesser of the errors, right? Because it'll keep people more invested in the near term, but obviously, investment could start tapering off if they don't have a lot of stuff planned for later.
Yeah.
But too late is also a huge problem, because, people are.
I would hope that they sort of. I hate that I'm even about to say this, but I also don't. I would hope they follow a similar sort of cadence that Monster Hunter World followed with their content drips through their lifespan, because that was like pretty picture perfect. Like, maybe they could adjust it a little bit, but I would hope they're looking at least at things like that. I know there's other examples. That's my personal example, obviously, but I think it seems like they know what they're doing in terms of a content drip. So I don't know what they have planned. I would hope it's sooner than a year. That seems like crazy, but Yeah, who knows?
I was thinking, I
Hmm.
was really like just timing it out in my head, like how long do they want people to keep playing this and blah blah blah. And I really feel like sometime towards the middle of this year would be like an
Summer.
ideal, yeah, like a summer kind of let's get some life re-injected back into this game. Um, I mean, I don't know what the limitations of their. I don't even know what engine they're on. Honestly, I don't know if it's proprietary or is it Unreal Engine? No, right? Well,
I
actually,
don't
no.
know.
Actually,
I don't
no.
know.
No
But like,
idea.
what are the limitations in terms of like mission types? Based on what they could achieve with that engine, right? I mean, are there mechanical limitations that would determine how much they can do? In a granular sense, right? Like different kinds of missions. Like thinking about it, how there's like the VIP escort mission kind of thing where you have to extract people and they run across from one building. What if they start making that a little bit more involved where those two locations are further apart or something like that? Or how cool would it be to have like a actual like let's get one guy out of this planet, extract the mission with him, right? Like that kind of thing. Like
Oh
is there
yes,
shit
I
like
want to be
that
able
that
to
they could
take
do?
someone. I want to take a super citizen and put him on my back. I want to
Exactly,
carry
dude.
them. That would be
Exactly.
sick.
So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of possible mission types that could be interesting.
I'm sure they have a ton of ideas just like set up
Yeah.
already in their head. That I know you didn't really enjoy it all that much. I thought the Termicide mission was fucking awesome. I
It
like
was.
that
Yeah,
mission
I agree.
a lot.
Yeah.
That was and to me I was like, oh, so like this is how far they can go already with their like concepts they have in mind. And
Yeah.
knowing that they already have the ability to, because I thought for what it was, I thought that the layouts for that mission were pretty complicated. Like these are whole new like building structures and stuff that they're placing down. It's not like they were just reusing like
Right. The
old
other.
buildings that they already
Right.
had,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I thought that that was really, really cool. And if they continue to do stuff like that, I mean, that's like what it needs to stay fresh. And I think also we don't really need the third faction so long as they're still like adding in new weapons and stuff. And who knows, like
Yep.
maybe in the future, just to breathe more life into the game, they might also like be generous enough to change like things like the amount of cooldowns that we get, or just reduce the cooldowns that we
Yeah.
currently have, or maybe give us a booster that gives us another slot for a stratagem or
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And I
know?
mean
like I
the way the mech thing worked was really cool, actually, where everybody
Yeah.
had it for a short span of time, and it was just a completely free stratagem, finger quotes, where it was just
Yeah.
everyone had it.
Yeah.
I will say, so I'm looking at this article here on IGN, and it says, I didn't read this. It says that Helldivers 2 is built on the same engine as Helldivers 1. It's the Autodesk Stingray engine, which was
And the camera's just at the ground now.
yeah, honestly, it
The
used to be
fucking old
called
now.
it used to be called Bit Squid, the engine, and it got acquired by Autodesk at a certain point later, and that the engine got discontinued after development on Helldivers 2 was well underway, and they just decided to keep using it. So it's been discontinued since 2018.
Fucking
So,
Lamau.
that's crazy.
So
What? That game looks beautiful.
yeah, it does look really good. And I mean, that just goes to show, I mean, it's kind of like, people talk shit all the time about games choosing to use old engines, right? I mean, the Bethesda example is, I mean, as consumers, our visibility into how games are made is relatively limited for you know a lot of reasons. I mean, you can watch all the making of documentaries you want, and I do. There's still a very limited understanding of how games get made, and I think a lot of it is just weird secrecy stuff on the part of the game makers. But also, yeah, I mean, this
Well, I don't think there's like intentional secrecy. GDC is like pretty open. It just is a matter of people, I guess, going to that. But a lot of people do. Like, there's so much available information just like in their, I think it might literally be called like the GDC vault or something, but they have so much valuable still. Like if you were a game dev and you wanted a lot of really valuable game dev, like I guess tips slash like actually valuable information, basically GDC, I mean, is notoriously valuable for that.
And I mean, GDC is called the Game Design Conference. I think what I mean by that is like you do get a lot of insight into design, but not the day-to-day sludge work, the problem solving that happens when you're wrestling with a piece of technology. Do you know what I mean? Like just because the Autodesk engine was the same one as what they used on the first doesn't mean it's limited in a modern technological sense, right? More that it's an old engine, but they can adapt bolt-on additional technologies and things like that to it, right? Or they may be using third-party software. I mean, most companies use middle software at this point for problem solving. Like think of the classic example is SpeedTree, right? Everybody used to use SpeedTree for generating tree assets really quickly, to the point that it was like a meme for a while. Like that, everyone's doing stuff like that to bring engines up to a modern graphical level. But what's fascinating about it is that because it's discontinued, it means that you're not getting any support from the creator of the engine. It's not like if they were using Unreal Engine, if they had an issue or they wanted tips on how to solve a problem, they would call up Epic and be like, hey dogs, can you send an engineer, or let's do a Teams conference or whatever to figure out how to get past this. They're responsible for everything now. So I mean, that's what makes it really impressive is like they're battling against themselves because of this choice, right? Like they have to, it's up to their own abilities. So, I am curious if that does limit what's this possible scope for them in terms of what they can do with this. But, yeah, very fascinating. Fucking great game. I mean, good on them for making this work.
Yeah, agreed. I would have never guessed.
And I mean, there's something to be said about using an engine that you're comfortable with, right? I mean, they coded the entire first game on it. I mean, rather than switching for game 2, they're able to squeeze more blood out of that proverbial stone. Based on their familiarity with it. Anyway,
they've got like so much infrastructure already built with it, and games mechanics wise.
Exactly. How did they get such good game feel? That is the nebulous thing to me that never makes
feels so fucking good.
It just feels good to play. I mean, it's unbelievable. They just need to add a active reload, and then it'll be the perfect video game.
Yeah, I don't know about like one thing too that they nailed, which I think just shows how fucking good they are and they know what they're doing, is killing robots is very satisfying. And this is like, which I don't even know how many games I've played.
It's because
where it's actually fun to kill robots.
Like pieces break off. You know what I mean? Like that's the, what was that game where you slide? Is it Vanquish?
Binary Domain.
Oh, Binary Domain also, yeah.
That shit felt good as fuck.
They're both good examples, but yeah, I mean, if you make enough pieces break off of the robots, then it's cool. People like seeing the cool stuff happen, like cool reactions whenever you interact with the enemy.
And I mean, I think Merced said there's similar stuff if you're playing on PC, but dude, the PS5 controller stuff on that game is so, they went really hard. There's a lot of intricate vibrations for a lot of the different things going on. And then they do stuff with the triggers for like everything. There's a lot of pushback, and I love that shit, dude.
Nice try, Satan. You will not convince me to use a controller for a video game. Good try.
You should just use a PS5 controller on PC just to check it out for a second, because it is actually really, really cool. I'm not going to use a controller for that game, but it's pretty cool. It feels really good in the hands. So
Sean's favorite thing to do is check in every once in a while when we're in here. It's funny that we said that there's not much to say about Helldivers 2, and now we've been saying much about Helldivers 2, so we can move on. But
Praise.
it's too good. I think over time we'll come up with maybe more things that we wish were different. But as it is right now, it's in that very, very much a honeymoon phase where the game feels like it's hitting all the right spots at the moment. Like I just want to keep playing it, and talking about it makes me want to play it even more. So
yeah.
But other
we can wrap here and boot it up, you know.
Yeah, that's honestly. What were you gonna say, Merced?
Other than that, I just like as a quick thing, I actually was doing another playthrough of Resident Evil 4. Just
Remake
to check
or original?
The remake.
Okay.
Just to check in on it and make sure it's still good. And it's still very good. So
you just gotta, kick the tires on that one. I took
I do it with Elden Ring all the time. I understand, brother.
Yeah. Let's not get him started on that one. Bringing your 100,000-mile Toyota Camry Resident Evil 4 in for a tire rotation and a oil change. Did you play the Ada Wong stuff?
No.
Okay.
I'm 100% going to though, because I also did not realize that shit's $10. So I'm going to be playing that pretty soon. I also might do another Forbidden West run now that it is available on PC. So I might do that. We'll see, because now I can aim with a fucking mouse and I don't have to use the fucking controller.
It's so funny. I'm glad that Forbidden West is getting some praise with its PC port, because it's
supposed to be crazy good.
I was convinced that I mean, I do not like the gameplay I didn't finish Zero Dawn, and I probably will never play Forbidden West, but I always feel bad that they seem like good games that always manage to get overlooked by whatever current release is.
Random shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think that those games are phenomenal. I think they're really, really fucking good, and I completely agree. I think it's a shame. And I think that they get shafted as normie games too, even though, I mean, like, kind of they are, sort of.
Yeah.
I think that that's a little bit unfair, especially since the story in the first one is so fucking good.
I've heard that. From what I know, it is pretty good.
I think people don't like fully accept. I think people like us probably do. Like, we think about it and acknowledge it, but this is a guerrilla game. They made this after Killzone. It's so fucking cool to me. Like, even though I kind of align with Chandler where Zero Dawn didn't really speak to me and I couldn't fully get into it. One of the parts that was interesting me a lot was the lore and world building that they have, which is a huge surprise. Yeah. Like, that shit is really, really good. All their games look phenomenal, so it's no surprise that game is insanely good looking. And the tech that they use to like only like have what's currently in camera like be what's what you
rendered.
Call rendered, and then everything else is constantly not rendered and it's rendering in real time as you look, like just weird shit like that they did to have that fidelity as high as possible. And the gameplay is not bad. It just didn't super resonate with me. And then I do want to try Forbidden West at some point and hope that I can kind of get more into it than I did with the original. But yeah, shout out to Guerrilla. Honestly, I would love to see what they do after this. I don't know if they're doing more Horizon. Merced, you might know. But whatever they do after this, I'm excited to see it. And
as far as I know, I'm really not sure what their next thing is going to be. But I think Forbidden West sold 20 million units.
Did it cliffhang?
So
did you finish Forbidden West? You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't do the DLC though, but yeah, I finished it. It gets a little wacky towards the end. But
did it cliffhang?
Yes. I mean, there's definitely a lot more that can. Yes, it 100% does. There's a lot more that can happen. So
okay, yeah. So they'll probably do another one, close it up.
I would like to see them not do Killzone or this. I would like to see them do another new thing. But
yeah, I'm excited for them to do their next thing after presumably another Horizon. I would love to see whatever they're going to do next.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be going back to Killzone.
It would be cool if they revisited Killzone, but honestly, they just consistently made those games worse after 2. Like it was like
two was the peak. Yeah.
1 was okay, 2 was amazing, 3 was okay again, but for different reasons than 1. and then after that, I mean, I was it Shadowfall. I think I despised that game.
I never played that one.
It wasn't good. Yeah.
So I mean,
Very uninspired.
I think if they could do something cool with Killzone again, I would be open to it. But honestly, I mean, I'd rather them. Clearly, they have a lot of very creative people who are good at world building and creating new, fascinating, universes.
They know what's cool.
So
That's
I mean,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, let's flex those muscles again. Let's make something totally new. But yeah, I mean, new is risky, and Sony is laying off 4 bajillion people every day. So not every day, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's gaming is in such a low right now in terms of job stability that everybody, is it Herman Hulst is now? He was formerly head of Guerrilla, and he's now, I think, all of Sony, like Sony Interactive Europe president, right, or something like that. I don't remember.
I don't know.
The guy who led Guerrilla for most of their run, I think is now very high ranking at Sony. He's head of PlayStation Studios is his title. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they brought him up. So but yeah, I mean, it's
that would make sense, right? Because isn't Guerrilla also helping out with other games now too? Other Sony projects?
I'm sure. I mean, it's safe to assume at this point that any studio and part of a larger umbrella is always working on something with other studios. I mean,
yeah, because they definitely helped with Death Stranding, because they essentially let Death Stranding use their engine, right? Their proprietary engine. So
I actually don't know about that. That may be true.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be something to look up. But I believe that what the case was whenever Kojima was founding the new studio that he essentially had a bunch of devs that worked at Guerrilla, and then also Guerrilla themselves lend a lot of their.
Okay, yeah, it is the Decima engine. You're right. Yeah,
yeah, and also the developers themselves, they lended a lot of their developers towards Kojima's first project, which was Death Stranding, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these days development requires so many resources and so many people that, I mean, you need, if you have multiple teams, they're constantly working on something, right? So if Guerrilla is in the, storyline phase, storyboarding phase of their new project, and they haven't quite hit a development stride yet, those developers should be working on, other stuff, finding ways to
get value
out of these huge studios. I mean, it's and they're going to only be doing that more now that they're laying people off and shrinking team sizes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see where the next year to 2 years of games end up with a lot of this job instability stuff. And
I was thinking we might have another maybe couple years where you're going to find a lot of these devs creating their own groups again. Because didn't this happen fuck. I can't nail the years, but I feel like that there was similar frames of time where you had a lot of devs that essentially were just saying, hey, I mean, we might as well just all create our own. We we get support in terms of funding, all that kind of stuff, and just make our own shit. So
yeah.
See if that happens, if we do end up getting a bunch of new studios based off of the layoffs.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. I mean, you get really good development studios with a lot of talent, and then they slowly start breaking apart, either due to, I mean, it's almost always due to publisher mismanagement, right? I mean,
exactly.
or if they're not owned by a publisher, they run out of money at some point, or they ship something that's not a complete hit, and then they have to sell or shut down or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of these many such cases, as they say, but I think it's interesting because this is the first time that it feels like there's really been across the board, no matter what publisher, what developer you are, no matter how successful, there's been huge downsizing efforts. And that's in a long time. This happened in tech already, right, for years, but this hasn't really happened for video games in a major way recently. for, I mean, you saw the Sony layoffs. It was like even studios like Naughty Dog were affected, or Insomniac, and like those are studios that are out and out successful. I mean, there's no way to spin it otherwise. I mean, even if you don't like every game that they make, which I don't, right? I mean, but those are studios that are funding Sony. Like they're like Insomniac. How many games have they released in the PS5 generation? I mean, that's insane that they would be affected by this, because clearly they've shown how to be efficient.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is typically how it goes, though. Like if layoffs happen, they typically trim a little bit everywhere. Sure. Usually,
yeah.
That's just how it goes, especially considering it seems to me. I mean, I guess I don't concretely know this, but it seems to me that the layoffs are mostly just a response from the like COVID boom of video games, and it's like there was a lot of growth and then a lot of cut back, so they need to cut back, and then so like it makes sense that there's like trimming going around across the board. It sucks, but it does make sense. And yeah, I don't know, there was a similar thing when Hasbro had layoffs, and Wizards of the Coast is like, I think holding Hasbro, who owns them, afloat by like, I think they're not exaggerating, they're like over 80% of Hasbro's revenue. And Hasbro owns like a lot of properties and stuff, and Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering are literally keeping them afloat. And they did like hella layoffs across the board, including at Wizards of the Coast and Magic's team. Including their the head of their Universes Beyond team, the team that brings in the other properties to Magic, which has been very successful. Like just weird stuff like that happens, and you're like, dude, these are the people making you the money. Like, and but that's just how it works. It's just fucking stupid.
I mean, it starts. You have to even say it makes sense is one step past the acceptance phase, where you go, okay, well, this is first and foremost due to a corporate level of greed. Right. So like this is a fundamental dysfunction.
In that world is what I mean. Like we live in that world, so it makes sense. Like, but yeah, I agree. And it's very corporate greed level already. They could be cutting from their fucking bonuses and checks and keep everybody just as easily, but they don't do that. They just fire them instead.
Reduce bonus payouts by $10 million. And then, how many jobs would you keep for at least a year? Right. I mean, so there's
keep that talent, earn that goodwill.
Totally.
But nope.
No one ever does it. Yeah. So I mean, it's
Nintendo is like the only one historically known for, I think it was a water right or whatever, that fucking cut his bonuses that one time when whatever console underperformed and kept all their employees instead. And I mean that's fucking heroic as shit, but that never happens. Like it's like one of the only times in history.
It's something cultural. And by the way, I mean, there's plenty of issues with the Japanese working culture, right? But it's a culture issue about getting a team and keeping a team. It's also a law there that doing layoffs in Japan is really challenging. So, I mean, they can't just cut people willy nilly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's the case in Europe too. I mean, less so. But in Europe, there are laws that say you have to demonstrate that there's nothing else you can do before you're allowed to lay people off. Like as a company, you have to communicate.
Whereas in America, it's more.
There's no oversight. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, there's literally no oversight. Like you can make any decision.
I didn't realize it wasn't like that other places. I thought it was kind of just like that anywhere. That's
the bulk of these layoffs, like even at Sony, the bulk of these layoffs are in countries where it's easier. Japan is one of the hardest, and then Europe is somewhere in the middle, and America is the easiest. I mean, it's so, this stuff will be damaging in a way that is long term to the talent pool in video games, because working in video games as a developer you could be making much more money by just going to work for pretty much any other company, right? Than a game company. So there's that,
and do less work,
and probably do less work.
Absolutely.
So there is definitely a talent loss that will occur. People will have less faith. You will see. I think you're right. You will see more independent studios formed by people who are tired of working for large companies. And then we might have another indie boom where we get a lot of really good indie games, and that's awesome. There for a minute, it seemed like the AA studio was going to be revived. like the concept of having like not quite AAA, not quite indie, somewhere in the middle. You know, folks like Larian, finger quotes. I mean, there's some questions about, you know, where their funding comes from. I mean, partial Tencent funding and all that stuff. But
and Hasbro.
But I mean, they operate independently, right? I mean, as a whole, I mean, they have controlling ownership. Larian gets to decide for themselves the next game they're going to make. So and according to news stories, it's not going to be more Baldur's Gate, because they do not want to work with Hasbro anymore. No. So I mean, there's
surprise.
There's you know, there's more companies like that you could see. I mean, look at.
I definitely think we're entering the era, and I think we've kind of briefly talked about this here before, where it's easier to make good games at a better price point for devs. Like the dev tools available now and in the coming future, with like Unreal 5 becoming a thing and other stuff becoming a thing, good games are going to be easier to make, and that talent is going to recognize that and realize, oh, we don't need a top line coming down on us.
Totally.
We can do this ourselves. And even if it's a little bit more risky, there's that much more reward too, right? So I think we're going to see a lot of that in the coming years. It'll be interesting to see what and from who, but yeah, I think we're definitely entering that era after all these layoffs, with all the coming tools that, I mean, video games are only getting better and easier to make. Still a lot of work, but easier to make in terms of, like I said, dev tools and stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's easy to forget because they make such huge budget games through publishing deals, but Remedy is also an independent developer, right? I mean, I would definitely call that, you know, promising that they get to continue to operate as such. So, I mean, who knows how long that's the case, but.
Well, I think, how well is Alan Wake 2 selling?
Well enough. Yeah. Well, I mean, enough. It's their best selling. It's selling better than Control, which did really well. So far, Alan Wake 2 is their best selling game. Is it good enough to offset all of the kind of development and marketing? Obviously, it was a very expensive game to make. I think they'll make a profit on it. And I don't know.
Epic had to foot the bill for like a lot of it too.
Yeah, Epic was funding it, so there's that. But I mean, I do think it'll make a profit. If you're like someone like Square Enix, who always has unreasonable expectations for how well their games should do, would it be successful by their metrics? Maybe not. But I mean, I think for Remedy's sake, I think it is going to do just fine. So, but
it probably, like, the sales are probably honestly disproportionate to the amount of people who played Alan Wake 1, like back when it came out. If I had to guess, like, there probably like is an insane amount of people that are jumping into the series now.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think Remedy is an example of a studio where each game they make becomes more and more mainstream in the overall gaming audience, which is nice because now they're going to do those Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, and Rockstar is footing the bill on that. So
and that's going to be packaged together too. So they're just going to release 1 and 2 as a single game.
Yeah, So, okay.
What a good era to be gamers.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it really is. I mean, on the one hand, a lot of the best games that have ever been made are being made right now and coming out, and on the other hand, you know, it's the most just weird time, like all the weird new Gamergate 2 stuff that's going on that makes me want to pull my hair out every time I look at.
Is there Gamergate 2? Did I miss something?
Yeah, you for sure. Elon Musk called it Gamergate 2 day one of this shit happening. I mean, he's so fucking unbelievably stupid. I mean, it's basically, to the long story short, for those who aren't in the loop, I mean, there's a game, there's a third-party writing company that I would call it consulting, but it's not even really that. It's basically writers for hire. So their whole job is like they have a team of writers that specializes in video games. And whenever a company wants story ideas or character fleshing out or quest writing or whatever, they reach out to this company. The name of the company is Sweet Baby Inc. And it's literally I think they're based in New York. I've actually met one of the people who works for that company in New York. at an unrelated event. Like, we didn't even talk about video games. They just mentioned that they worked in video games and mentioned the name of the company. And now they're receiving harassment from Gamergaters because they have a public persona that exists. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And essentially, people who are weird about diversity and inclusive society feel like Sweet Baby Inc. is somehow a team of people whose entire job is to poison their favorite video games by inserting wokeness into them.
Yeah,
they're basically wokeness consultants. And it's fascinating to see.
Wait, so hold on. Did I miss what game did this?
So Sweet Baby Inc. has consulted, I keep using that word, has written for a lot of video games. Like, I think, to be honest, it's hard to pinpoint the exact game that created the shitstorm. But like, recently they were credited on Alan Wake 2 and God of War Ragnarok. Spider-Man 2, you know what it was? It was actually Suicide Squad is what it was. I think that's really was the turning point. But I mean, they've worked on a lot of projects. And those are just the ones that are recently public and out. I mean, they're currently working on a lot of projects for a lot of major developers. So
they write, do they write like dialogue, or do they write like major story beats and stuff like that? Or
it depends. I mean, it's anything.
What it sounds like to me is the studio, like, let's say, for example, like, I don't know, the Insomniac with the Spider-Man. You said Spider-Man 2, right? So yeah. I'm sure Insomniac has a main storyboard and the main flow of events and main character bullet points.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, this is it. Can you flesh this out? Like you were saying, like, kind of just add more to this. And it's just like a thing, maybe not a main point to them, so they can focus on their other stuff, not have to hire actual writing talent, which is unfortunate if that's the case. But that's what it seems like to me.
They are. I mean,
like actual, like, having, you know what I mean? Like, instead of delegating it out to another party, like having.
It's exactly what we were talking about in relation to studios, like Guerrilla contracting out their developers to other Sony studios for development assistance. It's literally that, but instead you say,
this is their whole thing.
Yeah, they're just writers. So their whole thing is they specialize in writing, and they have a team of people who are good at writing, storyboarding, scripting, whatever you might need from multiple levels. So they might have somebody who specializes in character arc development. You might have somebody who specializes in like barks, like just something as simple as, okay, when you're in combat, what do the characters yell out? We got a guy who's really good at writing what the characters yell out. You know what I mean? Like, it could be stuff that, like, to be honest with you, writing has been devalued over the last 20 years of just society in general. But in particular, video games, you might have a pretty small team of writers who are pretty high ranking people at that company. Is it worth wasting their time wasting their time? Even I'm devaluing writing, and I'm in favor of this shit, but is it worth making, let's say, Sam Lake, somebody who clearly spends a lot of his time writing in addition to running the studio at Remedy, should he be the guy writing combat barks? I mean, I would argue no. If you're going at it from a corporate mindset where you're maximizing the value of the people you're paying at your company, having Sam Lake be the guy writing the combat barks doesn't make any sense. From a creative perspective, when you're not thinking about it from a poisoned business mind, like unfortunately I now have, then I mean, it does make sense because he's the one who's primarily responsible for the story in Alan Wake 2 in a broad sense, right? I mean, he it's his baby, on some level. So anyway, so if you actually go to their website, I'm on their website right now. If you hover over a project that they work on, they'll tell you exactly what they did. Exactly. And what's interesting is I can tell you that God of War Ragnarok will be the one where people got mad. I can also tell you that Suicide Squad will be the one where people got mad, because if you hover over God of War Ragnarok, it says, "We worked on narrative and character consultation with a focus on representation." That is a bucket of trigger words for weird man babies who sit in their office chairs that smell like absolute dog shit and talk on YouTube all day about how wokeness is ruining the world. Similarly, for Suicide Squad, for some reason, the minute that it came out, that cutscene where they killed Batman, which, yeah, didn't seem very good, frankly, either, in my opinion. But I mean, I didn't play the game. I don't know. And I have no fondness for comic book characters whatsoever. Did it seem like a great story? I don't think so. But people blamed that on wokeness somehow. Like, oh,
I don't know exactly how they got there. It's I've seen this as well, but I don't.
I'll tell you. Here, it's as simple as this. It's always as simple as this. It's woke to take a character that people historically love, especially these people who, let's be honest, if you go back far enough, a lot of different kinds of people like comic books, but people who take this shit really personally tend to be white folks. Okay, there you go. So then you have that.
Crossley.
I mean, but it's and that's not even like, that's not to say that, like, I mean, you meet people of all types who like Batman, but for some reason, only white people who like Batman are really upset when Batman gets killed by a woman, in this case, Harley Quinn. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that they can just go, well, it's woke now, because Harley Quinn kills Batman and they didn't do it the proper amount of justice. And then you need to find somebody to blame. So all of a sudden you go online and you find out that this company called Sweet Baby Inc. is responsible. And then you go, okay, well, let's find out who works at Sweet Baby Inc. And then they go on Twitter and they harass these people until they say something that aligns with their narrative. So like, one of the main writers at Sweet Baby Inc. was being harassed on Twitter, and she said, well, you can't be racist against white people, which, I mean, is just, you know, a thing that people hate. People really hate that conversation specifically. I mean, if you want to start the worst conversation you've ever had in your life, say that in a room and all of a sudden you'll get people, whether it's right or wrong, I don't give a fucking shit, but you will get the most annoying people on both sides of that discussion suddenly inflamed. So
I can't wait to be the minority, bro.
As a man who just spent 2 weeks in Asia, I'll be honest, I thought it was fine.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I can't wait.
So anyway, it's just, it's so fascinating that this is happening again, and it happens on like a cycle of every 5 years or so, where you just end up with a new thing that everybody is just needlessly mad about. And in this case, it's Sweet Baby Inc., who is spearheading the wokeness and diversity quota in all of your favorite media forever until the end of time. Now Boogie2988 is apparently a alt-right grifter. I don't know. It's also,
he says some pretty fucking crazy shit.
He does say some weird stuff. Did you know that his like, he's like 40 something and his girlfriend is like 20 years old or some shit?
Oh yeah. Have you watched the YouTube thing about him?
I haven't. I tried.
It's a pretty good watch.
If you would like to waste your time, it's pretty fun.
it's a good 40 minutes.
It's fun to watch.
It'll go by quick. Don't worry.
Is this like a documentary that somebody made about him? Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Someone actually came to his house and like asked him a bunch of questions, followed him around, and basically documented his career.
This is not the same guy who came to his house and then he pulled a gun on them. That's a different guy.
This is a different dude. That dude was just trolling the shit out of him and shoot a gun off in the middle of a neighborhood. No, there was someone who genuinely wanted to do a documentary on, and so he was just like, hey, let's follow you around for a few days, let's see how you live your life, and then I'll do a thing for your whole career.
He's super transparent. He's like, yep, this is all my horrible lifestyles, this is all my bad decisions, here's my bank account, here's how fucking horrible my financials are. Like, it's super transparent. And there's this one part where he goes to sell his really old like expensive Magic cards, which I'm just like, and it's like it's at the worst possible point in time where Wizards of the Coast had like just basically reprinted all of the old expensive cards that they literally promised to never reprint.
God.
So all his super expensive old cards like lost a bunch of value. So his like last saving grace isn't even enough to like pull him out of the hole that he thought it would. And then he starts dating, like the really young chick. It gets super fucking weird. He starts doing shrooms. It's so fucking, it's good. It's good.
I mean, wow, this is unlocking a whole new level of this story for me. I mean, I know very little about him and have always known very little about him. So, I mean, his seemingly, I won't say sudden, but like his seemingly just willingness to out himself as like a Gamergate 2 guy is just so fascinating because with just a single tweet, suddenly everybody was like, well, fuck that guy, especially now, like just... I mean, it's unbelievable how willing people are to just state an opinion that totally ruins their career and credibility for a while. I mean, not forever, because Louis C.K. is back out on the scene doing comedy, but I mean, it'll get you for a little bit. Yeah, man.
I mean, definitely he fits the bill, right? Like, visually, it's really hard not to connect those two dots.
Yeah, in my eyes, he's like a garbage human being.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you have to try to give people the benefit of the doubt, even if they look nuts. Like Asmongoul, for instance, like that dude, he's clearly mentally unwell and physically unwell. I mean, he's probably going to die soon based on what he eats and how he lives. But like, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt that he's not a dog shit person, and then he'll willingly out himself as a dog shit person by making some horrible statement, and then you're like, okay, well now all empathy that I've had towards you is just gone. Yeah, I don't know. We should stop having internet celebrities. We need to cut it out. I mean,
we need more. We need more. I mean, it's so much of my time is spent learning about them.
I mean, we have to move on from this. Like, these people don't. It's like all celebrities always have these weird dark sides, and most people have PR people who manage them and tell me everything that you have on your mind, and I'll tell you all the things you absolutely cannot say. And internet celebrities, for some reason, do not have that person, even though they should. And
that's the beauty of it. It's like 90% of them don't know when to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know. You're basically if you were born at a different time, you would have been into like the Real World shit or like Jersey Shore, like that. Like that's God. Basically what you're into. All right.
Real Housewives.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Real unhealthy gamer dudes of
the internet,
of Twitch, and I guess Kick
real
now.
N-word sayers.
Yeah. All right. That probably feels like a good. Unless
are we gaming, boys? Are you busy, Chandler? What's happening?
It seems that way. Let me take stock of what's going on, and then because I do have a plan later, but let me take stock of what's going on, and then see what the deal is. But one way or the other, Helldivers 2 will be played today.
Those are big words.
Whether it's now or later tonight, I mean, I don't know. Somehow, Crossley, you and I are not on the same times anymore. Do not know what happened there, but I was on for like a week straight and didn't see your ass. So I'll just say that.
I think I was just not online. I was playing Magic, probably.
Yeah. See, I'm not the only one who has plans.
Yeah.
You guys just leave me alone to fester in my room and have to look up e-celeb drama.
You're blaming us for this?
Yeah.
Yes. You can. Yeah, that's. Yeah, you're right, buddy. All your problems are external. That's.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just play Reunion, bro. Once you're done with RE4. Did you pick it up when it was on sale, or is it still on
What
sale?
the fuck is Reunion?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Reunion?
Crisis Core remake.
Oh. Don't play
no,
that.
I haven't. I think it's the last day. I think it's the last day for it.
I love how you guys are like, I'll never finish a Persona game, but I will play Crisis Core in the year of our Lord 2024.
Okay, listen, here's the thing. When you play Persona, you get it. By the time you're like fucking, I don't know, 40 hours in, you get it. You got it. It's done. Like, you're not going to gain anything out of it after like another 40 hours, all right?
Yeah.
You can put that down safely, never return to it, and know that that guy that spent 80 hours in that game has gained nothing in comparison to you. Nothing. So
What, dude? You don't value story? You don't value writing? You don't want to see what the character arcs are?
I got it,
Come
bro.
on, man. Come on.
I got it. At least
Dude.
just do something with the combat so I feel like I'm developing some anything, doing something new. Develop the combat in some way. But you are legitimately doing the same thing hour 1
Over
and hour
over
80.
and
It's like
over
what
and
Combat
am I
wise,
doing?
absolutely. Those games suck. If they were just combat, I wouldn't be playing them. But I think story and
Yeah.
character development wise, absolutely.
It's like
worthwhile.
it's definitely
I
like
mean,
60 to 70% of that game
but-
is like getting the outside the
but
the social aspect.
So,
But then fucking Three Houses came in and ate their fucking lunch and did we'll just do peak fucking gameplay.
Actually
and
kinda true.
A Persona thing in the other half as well, and it's so good.
The problem is that, I mean, the quality of the writing still in Three Houses is not up to the same level, in my opinion. I mean,
I actually disagree. I enjoyed Three Houses' story, and it's different.
Oh yeah.
Narrative paths way more than anything Persona's done. Period.
You misunderstand. It's the overall story. You're right. Is on the same level, which is mid, I would say. Like, I mean, we've had this conversation before. Games writing is not always the best, but it's good for what it is. Three Houses is good. Is a good story. Persona, always a good story. The story is not the thing. It's the character writing. It's the little day-to-day stuff. It's the flavor around it.
I think it's good in Three Houses. I could have a bias there. I do fucking suck off Fire Emblem pretty hard, and
You do.
That's like the first time they had like a different way to interact with the characters and narrative and all that. And I think it's just done really well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do think they really nail it. Character moments and those interpersonal conversations and stuff. It could definitely be a lot better, but
Yeah.
it's really good for what I expect from fucking Fire Emblem. I guess maybe that's your point, is like that it's okay for what it is, but I think it's better than Persona, I guess.
I mean, yeah, and it's all about, I mean, again, we're arguing about things that are subjective, right? But to me, I'm much more interested in the story of Persona games. The problem that I have with Persona games is I am not the target audience for the combat. The people who are the target audience for the combat already think it's great, which is insane. I mean, it's insane. I can't disagree stronger with a fan base that I am somehow in the same camp at. You know what I mean? Like I am a Persona fan, but I do not play those games for the gameplay. But people do. I mean, they turn that shit.
People spend like 80 hours in Mementos and just grind the dungeons. I'm like, huh? You can do that, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
And then they're like, why do I have to waste my time with all this talking shit? Like I'll skip the cutscenes or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like there's like people like that. I mean, it's that's the beauty of video games, is that you can like the same game as someone and totally disagree about every aspect that you like about it.
That's mental illness, bro.
I mean,
we don't listen to people.
I mean, I agree, but that's people feel that way.
They need to go play like Disgaea or something. But I completely, I completely agree with you though. I feel like at some point in every Persona game, I just get to a point where it's like I don't feel a want to like experience those like every single day cutesy or like deep meaningful moments with the other characters. At some point, I'm just like, yeah, I've had my fill.
Yeah, I've had my fill. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that is the thing that you guys are talking about, where you burn out by playing it 40 hours in a row, and then you're like, okay, I'm done.
For sure, that's a part of it. Yeah.
I mean, for me, taking it step by step is like the way to do it, because it's the game that you play in the morning when you wake up before you have to go to work or before you have to go, do your thing, play an hour, 2 hours, and move on. Because it's, I mean, you feel the repetition. It's just like real life. If you step back and think about it too much, you're like, oh my God, is this all I'm doing? That's the scary part about Persona. You're like, this is my life. I do the same shit all the time. Like, oh my god, it turns out I've dined at the same restaurant 4 times the last month. Holy shit.
Yeah, it nails it because you're literally like, what day is it? What do I do on this day? Oh, I do this.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Exactly. I mean, but that's the beauty of it. So I don't know, but I'll keep plugging away. We didn't even talk about Unicorn Overlord, but that's fine. I'll play more of it and we can talk about it next time.
Okay, maybe we'll pick it up by the time we talk.
Yeah, I do want to play it.
You know what? Go download the 8-hour demo, and because by the time you get done with the 8 hours, you will have decided if you want that game or not.
I didn't realize there was
not a bad idea.
Yeah, there is on the eShop. I'm only about 3 hours in, and I think I will continue playing it after the demo is up. But
sorry, pardon. Did you say the eShop?
Is it not called the eShop anymore?
What are you playing it on?
Switch.
Jesus Christ. What's wrong with this man?
What do you mean?
Oh, wait. What else do you play it on?
It's a multi-platform game. I was going to get it on PS5 or PC.
Yeah, it is on everything, I think. It is on everything. But
why would you get it on the Switch?
What do you mean? Because it's not an action game. It's a Fire Emblem game.
Don't you have a Steam Deck?
Yeah, dude, I don't want to get into that.
Just mail it to me. I'm over it. Just mail me your Steam Deck, you dirty Switch player.
I mean, it doesn't work, so there you go. It hasn't worked recently. It hasn't worked in like 6 months.
I thought you got to fix it.
Okay, it's not on PC, so.
Oh,
Chandler's
I didn't know that.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, but I knew it's on like PlayStation and Xbox for sure.
It is on PS5, yeah.
Yeah, it's all consoles, but not PC.
So there you go, dude. Get it on PS5 and then get a PlayStation Portal, and there you are.
I have my iPad. I don't need that fucking garbage.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, download the demo. It seems cool.
How does it feel? How does it feel on the Switch?
Good. It's the perfect game for that. I mean, it's a strategy game. It's a strategy game. It's a menu game. You spend 90% of that game in menus. I mean, there's no reason not to play it on a Switch. Especially, honestly, the Steam Deck screen is shit for reading tiny text. So I'd rather have the OLED screen for that anyway. But I mean, the menus in that game are fucking crazy, dude. Anyway,
the overall design of that game is fucking crazy.
I mean, it's a beautiful game, but like many, I'm not gonna say that all Japanese games are like this, but they do be loving menus. I mean, and they love to cram as much tiny information on every fucking menu as possible.
Sure. Facts.
All right, let's go before we get worked up about something else.
Yeah. So about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah. Oh my god. No, we have to stop. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks Crossley and Merced for joining me as always. Let's do one of these sooner rather than later. It's always fun. We got to play some more games. I didn't even talk about Prince of Persia. I played Prince of Persia.
What? Really?
Not all of it, but I did play some of it. Yeah,
I need to play that. That's high.
Yeah, see, it's on sale right now. It's 40 or 50% off on the Ubisoft Connect store on PC. By the way, I just said we're going to wrap up. By the way, that game does not support ultrawide. In 2024, it does not support ultrawide.
Big surprise! Wow,
well, that's kind of wild for that game
now. Every game now supports ultrawide. It does.
It feels like it would be perfect for that game.
It's true.
I just feel like I still hear horror stories of that pretty.
I have not
semi-regularly
bought a new game that doesn't support ultra wide recently. That is like in the last 3 years, I've not bought a game that does not support ultra wide.
Okay,
this is the first. The reason it's a problem is because the game is really nice looking, but I have to run it in borderless windowed, which I absolutely hate. Because if you run it in full screen, the maximum resolution is shit. So it's literally letterboxed on my screen, or whatever. It has the black bars on the side.
On the side,
yeah, not letterboxed because that's on the top. But yeah, it sucks. If I had known that, I would have just played it on PlayStation, but I didn't. So I bought it for $20 or whatever it's on sale for. Booted it up and was immediately upset.
Damn.
But anyway, still a good game. All right. We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah. We also just to let you guys know before we go, Skull and Bones is 20% off. So
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's all get it. Go ahead, Merced, you first. We'll be right behind you, dude.
Let's click it at the same time.
Okay, yeah. 3, 2.
All right.
All right. Goodbye.